Hi friends, this session is about increment functionality using output panel in Salesforce Visual Force page. See, my requirement is in the page the text has to be like this, like click me, and that's counts. Initially the text will be like this. When I click on this area, click me. When I click on this area, click me, the increment functionality has to be happen. Increment functionality has to be happen. Just simple functionality. When I click on this click me area, increment functionality has to be happen, and when increment functionality is happening, it has to show like increment. Once the increment is done, the page this value will be modified with new value. This value will be modified, updated with new value, and this increment text will be disappear. It has to be disappear. The increment phase has to be disappear. So once increment operation is done, then the output will be like this. It should be like click me 1. So the output of first increment, it will be like this. The output of first increment will be like this. Okay, and here for this functionality I am using for Apex output panel, Apex output panel, Apex output text, and Apex output Apex action support, Apex action status. Why and what are these? Okay, why and what are these? Okay, let's see why it is. This one is output panel is to display this block. Okay, to display this block. Output text is to display this area. Output text is to display this one. I mean this total the total area. You can say this total area. The total text, increment and text area. Mostly this is the main text area is this one. Action support. For action support tag will use which functionality we have to trigger for this text. When I click this click me area, what action it has to perform, that will be implementing by using this action support tag. We will see what are the attributes for this tag we will use. Okay, when action support is performing this increment functionality, this it has to show like incrementing. So to show the status, I am using this action status. Okay, so these are the tags. Just simple, very simple action. Okay, so I will use one Apex class. Okay, one apex sorry one exactly one apex class which contains two functions. One is for increment. We need only one function only to perform increment operation only, right? To perform increment operation. Okay, let's see how can we write this program in Salesforce. Okay, so I'm taking pointer. Okay, so now I'm creating one new class, that is for like I'm taking as example counter as class name or apex class name. Okay, so this will be the class, and so to keep the incrementing value or incremented value, I am taking one integer value as a counter. To keep on counting, I am taking as count as a variable, and initially we are storing 0 as initial value. Okay, so I need a function. What is that function? I need a function. What is the increment? Increment is a function. Okay, what it has to increment? Counter value, right? It has to, doesn't return anything. We have to just increment the counter value, right? So whenever we want to retrieve this count value, it has to return to Visual Force page. To render the count value to Visual Force page, we need to define the set and get methods. So as usual, we are setting by incrementing itself. We are setting as okay. Setting the 0 while declaring. While declaring, we are initializing the 0. Okay, so while retrieving the value, we need to define this get method. Okay, get count. Okay, you know this get and set methods, I hope, right? So set and this is get method, which always return a value, integer type, variable type. Okay, here the variable is count, so count type is integer, so that I have taken as integer return type. Okay, so this is our class, very simple class. This is class, I am saving this class, so nothing, no errors. Okay, so for this I need to create one Visual Force page. I'm creating a Visual Force page. Okay, so here for this page, what is a controller? As it is a custom controller, I'm taking as controller as an attribute. Okay, as it is a custom page, custom controller, I take a, you know, for the definition what is for. So I'm creating apex page already created, form, right? So under the form, I'm creating apex output panel. What this panel contains is actual text. Panel, the panel contains is click me and colon and counter value. Okay, so inside the panel we need to display the text. For that, output text, value equals to click me what is that value? Count. Click me So when I click on this click me phase, it has to perform some action, right? So I am defining action support, action support. So when it has to perform the action, what is that event? Event attribute is there. Event attribute is there. On click. What is that action? What is that action? It has to perform increment method. It has to implement increment functionality. So I am calling the same, right? I am calling the same. So just to see whether it is so far whatever we achieved with this page, just preview, click on preview. So this is a page we achieved click me phase, and this is what. So when I click on this, so it is refreshing whole page, and as well as it is incrementing one. So we achieved the actual business logic which we have to do, which we have to implement, that is incrementing a value while clicking this page. But we need to customize something. So whenever I click this, the value only has to update. We don't need to refresh all the page. We don't need to send the whole page to back to server and say get back the whole page to client side. So for that we use just that means we need to we don't need to page refresh. We don't need of page refresh. We just need of this part of we need just the we need to get the refresh of this part, right? So what is that part? That is output panel. When I click on this click me, it has to refresh only this panel. So for this I am creating one ID for this. What is that? Counter. And what it has to do is render. You know this attribute, I hope. Re-render counter. So when I say this, when I click this click me, this action will be performing. At the same time it will re-render only the output panel. It will re-render this ID only. What is this ID? This ID is this output panel. Okay, so let's see. If you see, when I click this, this is the counter value only will be updating. It is not refreshing the whole page. Okay, this is another point which we need very useful in our programming. Okay, so almost 80% of the problem is achieved, right? And the next one is we need to show when it is incrementing, it has to show as incrementing. So for this we need to define the status. Okay, so for this action support we have an attribute called status. Status is counter status. It is an status contains, this is a ID, it is a ID to the counter status. As I said, counter status is a ID. We have an action status tag. Action status tag, it is there. Action status tag. You need to define just simple action status. Action status. Okay. Under this action status, ID. What is ID? Counter status. We already defined as perform. So what I am defining is when performing this action, when I click on click me, perform this action. What action? Increment the functionality. At the same time, do not refresh all the whole page, only refresh this output panel and display the counter status. What is the counter status here? This is action status. This is ID only. We are using the status which we defined in the action status. This will be rendered into this status value. Okay, so start text. What is that? Incrementing. This is what. Okay, start test. Simple. Once the increment is done, once the increment functionality is done, automatically this will be disappear. This status will be disappear. So we achieved the whole thing. So this is a new page. So I'm just refreshing the whole page. Nothing is there. So when I click on this, see, incrementing phase we are getting, and status we are getting, and value is updating, and the page is not refreshing. Okay, this is simple, very simple. This is what